for Monday, January 4th, 2021. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Karen,
Here, Marshall, Michigan.
Councilmember Gates,
Here, Marshall.
Councilmember Rice,
Present Marshall.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Here, Marshall.
Councilmember Traver,
Here, Marshall.
Councilmember Underhill,
Here, Marshall.
and Councilmember Wolfersberger.
Here, Marshall.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. We will start this evening with an invocation by Chris Tarkowitz of Family Bible Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Chris, you've been muted. Eric, you have Chris unmuted.
Well, he has to unmute himself and his video off if he wants. I've asked him to.
Chris, you're still muted.
All right, it looks like we're having some technical issues there. Maybe if we go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance, and if Chris can maybe re-sign on, we can go to that after. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Chris, were you able to get your audio connected there?
Quarantine really did a number on him.
No fiber net at the lake. I guess we move on. We'll get him back.
Sure, we'll get him if he can reconnect. So first this evening, we have approval of the agenda, starting with public comment on agenda items, followed by city council organization, followed by the consent agenda. Under item 12A for public hearings, we have the amendments to the city ordinance chapter 70 vehicle and traffic code. For item 14, reports and recommendations. 14A is the 2021 strategic planning work session date. 14B, we have the clarifier equipment bids. And then we have public comment on non-agenda items, followed by council and manager communications. Any questions, comments of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
We have a motion from member Wolfersberger, support from member Traver. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member Rice,
Yes.
Member Schwartz,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. That moves us on to public comment on agenda items. Anyone wishing to address the council may do so and are required to give their name and address for the record and have 5 minutes to speak. Please either raise your hand or make a comment in chat to signate or to show that you would like to speak this evening. All right, seeing and hearing no comments or chat, we will move on to item 8 on the agenda, City Council Organization. So item 8A is the election of Mayor Pro Tem. And I would seek a motion to appoint Councilmember Traver as Mayor Pro Tem.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion by Member Gates, support by Member Underhill. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Rice,
Yes.
Member Schwartz,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Do I vote on this? Yes, okay, yes, please.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next, we have item 8B, the board and commission liaison appointments. So my recommendations are to appoint Councilmember Rice to the Airport Board, Councilmember Schwartz to the Marshall Area Firefighters and Ambulance Authority, Councilmember Gates to the Farmers Market Advisory Board, Councilmember Underhill to the Parks and Recreation Board, Councilmember Wolfersberger to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals, and Councilmember Traver to the DDA LDFA Board. And I don't believe we need any action on that. Is that correct, Clerk Nelson?
I don't think so. No, it's just a liaison appointment.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have item 8C, the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board appointment. So I would seek a motion to appoint myself as the representative on the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board and appoint Tom Tarkowitz, City Manager, as the alternate, and for the clerk to sign the resolution included in the packet.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by Member Wolfersberger, support by Member Schwartz. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Rice,
Yes.
Member Schwartz,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And then the final for section 8 is the Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority Board appointment. And I would seek a motion to appoint Councilmember Schwartz as the representative for the city on the Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority Board.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion by Member Underhill, support by Member Gates, and we'll do a roll call vote on this as well, please.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member Rice,
Yes.
and Member Schwartz.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That takes us down to the consent agenda. Under 9A, we have the city council minutes for the regular session on Monday, December 7th, 2020. Under 9B, we have city bills totaling $1,263,923.82. Any questions, comments on the consent agenda as presented? All right, hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion by Member Underhill, and I'm unclear on who the support came from. Member Traver. Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Schwartz,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
and Member Rice.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. That takes us to item 12A on the agenda, public hearing for the amendment to the city ordinance, chapter 70, vehicle and traffic code. I'll let Tom start out with this, and then I'm sure Officer McDonald or Chief McDonald,
Thank you, Mayor.
Director McDonald, excuse me.
Tonight you have scheduled a public hearing. There was a work session that City Attorney Sullivan and Director McDonald, they presented different portions of this, and Attorney Sullivan and Director McDonald, I guess, Scott, if you would like to start with any opening comments, and then we can go in the public hearing, and John, if you have something also.
I'm up. I don't see a camera, but I guess I don't need one. Okay, we were tasked to, we're getting a lot of these different vehicles, electric scooters, skateboards, motorized vehicles and such that we really haven't had too much regulation for. State law provides us a little guidance. There's a little bit in the traffic code, but basically Attorney Sullivan and I sat down and researched what state laws were applicable, wrote them into our laws, and then determined what we could do individually as a municipality to regulate these vehicles. Certainly, we don't want to discourage their use, but we do want some regulations so they're not up and down our main roads. For example, some of these electric skateboards, without lights and occupant protection, certainly we don't want on Michigan Avenue or some of our trunk lines. So we've kind of broke it down in some different sections. We talked about bicycles and electric bicycles. We've talked about skateboards, rollerblades, and electric skateboards. And then while we were on the subject of looking into this, we elected to look into horse-drawn carriages. We really had no ordinance covering those, and we've had a couple complaints coming in, reference their use. And then anticipating some future growth in the community, we examined quadricycles, petacycles, and such, hoping that our downtown businesses might look at those options in the future. Tourists.
All right, thank you, Director McDonald. Any questions at this time before we open up the public hearing? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and open the public hearing for the amendments to City Ordinance Chapter 70, Vehicle and Traffic Code. Please either raise your hand or comment in chat if you would like to speak. All right, seeing no hands or comments in chat, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Are there any additional comments from staff or questions from council at this time? All right, hearing and seeing none, the recommendation this night is that the council adopts amendments to the City Ordinance Chapter 70, Section 70.13, 70.14, 70.15, 70.16, and 70.17.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by Member Underhill, support by Member Traver. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member Rice,
Yes.
Member Schwartz,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
and Member Underhill.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And thank you, Director McDonald and Attorney Sullivan, for all your work that you put into that. And I appreciate, you going over that with all of us last week so we could kind of digest it, and I appreciate all that you did with that. So thank you.
Thank you. It was quite a project, and actually you learned quite a bit. Our next task is going to be educating the patrol staff based on how confusing it is, what our expectations are and so on. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we will move on to item 14A under reports and recommendation, the 2021 strategic planning work session dates for April 9th and April 10th of 2021. Tom, if you just want to expand on that a little bit.
Sure. For most of the council members, this is an annual event. After the election, we start sort of new with a session starting Friday night at 5 o'clock and goes to about maybe 10 on Friday. Then we get together at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning to finish up. We've retained Dr. Lou Bender, who's worked with all of you to come in. Usually we do this in January, February, but with COVID the way it is right now, Dr. Bender and I felt that it would be maybe better to wait. And he also has, I believe, another client, so he'll back those up together. And so we'd like to just to establish those dates. We'll probably be sending out some preliminary things from Dr. Bender to get you thinking about your strategic goals for 21 and for 22.
All right, thank you. So the recommendation is that the council establish a work session for April 9th and 10th, 2021 to discuss the 2021 city visioning goals and objectives.
I'll make
So
a
moved.
motion to, okay, support.
We have a motion from Member Schwartz, support by Member Wolfersberger. Any additional comments or questions at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member Rice,
Yes.
Member Schwartz,
Yes.
and Member Traver.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next, we have item 14B, the clarifier equipment bids.
I want to step back just to the last. We're hoping by that time in April, we can meet in person. So there's just a lot more interaction in person. And we're planning for the public services building training room where we can spread out a little bit if we still after that time. So, but moving on to clarifier equipment bids, I'll be turning over to Marguerite and she can tell you really the two steps on this process of what we're doing. So Marguerite.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks again for having us here tonight. We being Alec and I, with the wastewater department, have been working on the rehabilitation project for the clarifiers. So our wastewater treatment plant has 4 clarifiers, 2 primary clarifiers, 2 secondary clarifiers. We inspect the clarifiers annually, meaning we take them offline, we drain all the water out of them and look at them to make sure that everything is working appropriately. And our clarifiers have reached the age where they need some rehabilitation. We embarked on this project in the fall with putting an RFP out for design services. During that process, we were, I guess, trained or educated on how we could do this project in the time frame that we were looking at. We unknowingly started the project a little late from a consulting or engineering standpoint. And so we are coming to you tonight with bids for the equipment portion of the clarifier rehab. We are proposing to purchase the equipment direct from the manufacturer through a local sales rep. And then we will bid out the actual installation and other rehab work for the clarifiers at a later date, probably February, March timeframe. So typically a construction project, how this is different is typically you would purchase everything through the installer. And in this method, we are direct purchasing from the manufacturer. The engineering firm we're working with on this, Stantec, has done this process before. They're quite familiar with it, and there are definitely some advantages. There are also some challenges, but they helped us work through that in regards to speccing the correct material, making sure we knew what we wanted in the specifications and getting it all correct, so we could get it out to bid. So this went out to bid on early December. I don't remember the day. The bids were due on the 18th. And at that time, Stantec took the information and did a review of them. It's a little bit of a unusual bid package because we are proposing to do half the construction this summer and half the construction next summer. And that actually spans 4 fiscal years. So we had some dates and funding and everything else to pull together, and they helped us do that. So we're here tonight asking for the equipment only, like I said, and I'm going to pass it off to Alec, and he's going to talk to you about the equipment that we're proposing and the reasons why we would like to go with this provider.
Thank you, Marguerite. Just a quick clarification. The project is going to be handled this year, 2021, and then in 2023, we will do the other 2 clarifiers. So we'll be taking 1 construction season off in between. So going back to the design, Stantec invited 5 manufacturers reps to come inspect our clarifiers while we had them pumped down in October during our normal maintenance process. And they were then asked to provide their recommendations to the project for equipment and the like. The 3 of the 5 manufacturers representatives that came to the inspection provided bids, and then we did have 1 other manufacturer provide a bid for the equipment. We sent bids to the 5 manufacturers, and then we also published it publicly, so it was available to anyone that wanted to bid on it. In the bid package, we initially asked for pricing on painted steel for the equipment, and since a majority of the equipment is submerged, we also asked for a price on what it would cost to do stainless steel for corrosion resistance. Our current equipment has been in place for 45, 46 years. It is coated steel. It's only really seen a degradation in the last 6 to 8 years, I would say. We've really seen a marked degradation of the steel. And really that happens at the surface of the water. They call it the water-air interface, where that area of the equipment is partially submerged certain times, other times it's exposed to the air. And that's where you see most of the corrosion, is right at that line. Ultimately, when the pricing came back, the painted steel was the recommendation of Stantec. They put together a pretty robust paint spec that they included in the bid process. There was one manufacturer that provided a bid that, for reasons that we can only speculate, but Stantec felt like they potentially weren't able to meet that paint spec, that they only bid the stainless steel. So we did not entertain their bid at that point when we decided to go with the painted steel. One manufacturer had a bid that was just astronomically high. Later learned that they had just landed a rather large contract, and so I think they kind of bid it high so that if they got it, it was worth it, but they didn't really want to hassle with our small project. So we really had two comparable competitive bids, one West Tech and one Ovivo. Essentially, with the one throwing out because it's a no bid, we really only had the two to choose from. West Tech's design, everyone's designs are slightly different. They accomplish the same task in the process, but their designs are slightly different. We felt that West Tech's design is more beneficial to the process that we run. One of the characteristics of our clarifiers, especially our final clarifiers, were initially built in the 1950s when the plant was first built. They are very shallow by today's standards. They have about an 8.5 foot side water depth, well, 7.5 to 8 foot side water depth, excuse me. And if you were building a new clarifier today, you would be between 12 and 15 feet deep. So, they're, considerably shallower than current design standards would meet. So because of that, there's a blanket of sludge at the bottom of the clarifier when you're settling the solids to separate them from the wastewater flow. You have to have a certain amount of sludge in the bottom of the clarifier for the removal process to be efficient. West Tech's design allows us to have a lower sludge blanket, even lower than what we currently can handle with the design of our equipment. And what that allows is a greater treatment capacity for settling. If you think of an 8 foot deep tank and you've got, say, 1 foot to 2 feet of sludge, you've only got 6 feet of treatment capacity. If you had an upset, that limits the amount of time you have to respond, make changes to the treatment. Now, with the West Tech design, we are able to carry even lower. Right now, we carry about 1 foot to 2 feet. We'll be able to carry about a 6-inch to 1 foot sludge depth, which just gives us more time to respond to upsets in the plant and operate the most efficient way that we operate right now. Another factor for the West Tech design, they're the only manufacturer that provides a grease lubricated gearbox on the drive units. And I mentioned earlier that our current clarifier equipment is 45 years old. The gearboxes are only about 20 years old. The original equipment was replaced in 2000 with West Tech drives. They were Envirix clarifiers, but they retrofitted West Tech drives. And that was one of the reasons they went with West Tech back then, 20 years ago, was because of that grease lubrication. It's a weekly, some points are weekly, some points are bi-weekly, and some points are monthly, but you just take a grease gun out there, add some grease, and you move along. The other manufacturers have oil-filled gear drives, and so you're out there, you have to drain the oil on a regular basis, and that's challenging when you're working over an open tank of water, to say the least. And there's also potential for that oil to contaminate. And it's hard to believe you could contaminate wastewater. It's already contaminated, but there's a potential to contaminate the plant. And in the case of the primary clarifiers, if we did have a oil leak of some kind or lost oil while we were doing maintenance procedures, that could affect the bugs in the aeration cell. So, that's another factor. And the third benefit to the West Tech design, there are no seals in the lower portion of the the drive or the mechanism. So under the surface of the water, there's no maintenance that needs to be done. So that's just another benefit to the West Tech design. So with all those considerations, we are asking council to approve the purchase of the West Tech clarifier equipment through their local representative, which is Hamlet Environmental out of Howell, Michigan. So that's all I've got. If there's any questions, I'm glad to take them right now.
Hey, Alec, I do have a question. So the difference between the painted steel and the stainless appears to be, say, 8%. I'm curious. I mean, obviously, there's the stainless would be it wouldn't corrode in nearly the same amount of time as the painted steel. Is the feeling that, like you mentioned, this was a 40-year thing. Is the feeling it just wouldn't justify the cost? It wouldn't extend it long enough to justify the cost? Is that the basis here, or are you just thinking it's not worth the extra 25 grand?
It's exactly that. I mean, we're looking at 45-year-old equipment that has only recently shown its age in the last 5 to 8 years. So it just didn't outweigh the benefit didn't outweigh the cost increase. I would also like to add, there's at the outer edge of the tanks, there's what are called weirs and baffles. Right now, those are all made from painted steel. We're actually using fiberglass reinforced panels for the weirs and baffles to protect against corrosion.
All right, thank you, Alec. Any additional questions for Alec or Marguerite at this time? All right, hearing and seeing no hands, the recommendation is to award the clarifier rehabilitation project equipment purchase to West Tech through their local representative, Hamlet Environmental in Howell, Michigan, for an amount of $313,171, and to authorize the city clerk to sign the contract and purchase order for this equipment purchase.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by member Wolfersberger, support by member Gates, and we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Gates,
Yes.
member Rice,
Yes.
member Schwartz,
Yes.
member Traver,
Yes.
member Underhill,
Yes.
member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
and Mayor Karen.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you, and thank you for your time tonight, Alec.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us to public comment on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak tonight may do so for a maximum of 5 minutes, stating your name and address for the record. Please indicate either by raising your hand on Zoom or commenting in the chat feature if you would like to speak.
Mr. Mayor, I do see we have one attendee who's dialing in. I don't recall what the key to push is to raise your hand if you're on a phone. Do you?
Eric, do you know that offhand?
I think it's *9. *6 is to unmute yourself. I have to, if they want to talk, I'd have to let them.
All right, I'm not seeing or hearing anything. So we will move on to council and manager communications. We'll start with member Traver.
Nothing really from me. Just welcome to the new council members. Jim and Jen, thanks for taking this on with us, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, member Rice.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome to your first meeting. Member Underhill?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Wolfersberger.
I'll reiterate Member Travers' sentiments and welcome Jen and Jim, and looking forward to prosperous 2021 for Marshall. Hopefully we get things back to whatever normal was.
All right, thank you. Member Schwartz?
Much other than I do really appreciate the opportunity to serve with you all. Looking forward to the challenges ahead, giving some resolution to some of the big items we have looking at us moving forward. So thank you very much, and hope you all have a great new year. And it was a wonderful holiday for you all too. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you. And Member Gates?
Happy New Year, everyone. Jim and Jen, look forward to working with you both. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Nelson?
Nothing from me. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Tarkowitz?
Again, welcome to the new council members. If you'd like to have tours of facilities or sit down and discuss any, let me know. Alec will actually take you out to the clarifiers so you can understand everything he told you. And just we'll pick a certain day of the week for you to go out. So
You should pick a cold day for that, for sure.
yeah, it used to be Tuesday. I'm not sure what day it is now, but any tours you need, let us know. And then also my son apologizes for some reason. They required him to have a password to get in. So I told him we'll catch him on another time. So again, he apologizes. And that's all I have today.
All right, thank you again. We just want to welcome Jim and Jen. I'm excited to continue to work with the council this year. We've got a lot of great things coming and a lot of work to do. But that being said, I hope everyone has a happy start to their new year, and we will meet again in a couple weeks. So I'll call this meeting adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.